There are so many people that can help you be the CEO of your career, the president of your career, the leader of the incorporation that is you. Get the help you need to properly manage your career because it's your best product and your most valuable resource.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host, Anushka at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives more than 400,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. Today we have with us Dethra Giles. Dethra is a chief bridge architect who has developed the company Executive Prep that prepares and helps her clients build and cross their bridge from I want to be to I am. According to her, entrepreneurs and employeepreneurs are people really managing their careers like a business are often stuck in success. They have achieved mediocre success, obviously. They also know there is so much more, but don't know how to get to it. Dethra really helps them name it, develop a plan for themselves, and hold them accountable for getting there. She also helps them stop dreaming of what they want and guides them through the plan of becoming more. Her specialties include human resources, performance optimization training, executive coaching, keynote and transformational speaking, and succession planning. We're so happy and honored to have someone of her stature today on our interview series. Welcome, Dethra. We're thrilled to be talking to you today.
I'm excited to be here and thank you all for having me.
Oh, it's our absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking out the time and sharing your precious views with us. So, Dethra, diving right deep in the interview, the first question I really had for you was, you've been open in speaking about this before. As someone whose name has been mispronounced a lot, you've encountered people who have allowed others to define and name them. So can you just share your thoughts on that a little more for our audience?
I can't remember the author, but this author said the most important word in the world to people is their name. And when we don't make people or don't allow people the opportunity to say our names correctly, we're not giving them the opportunity to know who we really are. I learned this best from one of my first friends that was one of my first international friends who was immigrated to the US. And he was from China. And he would tell everyone, my name is George, my name is George. But the first time I met his family, his mother did not call him George. And I said, what is your actual name? Because when your mother's calling your name, she does not call you George, and you answer. And he told me what his actual name was. And I was disappointed that he felt like he had to shrink himself, his culture, his background, the effort and thought that his parents put into naming him just to fit in. And I realized I sometimes had done the same. My name is spelled Dethra. So everyone says Dethra, Dethra, Dethera, Doretha. And I would just go along with it. And I realized, no, my mother and father put time and thought and effort into picking my name. And I dishonor them and I dishonor you who I'm communicating with when I don't give you an opportunity to say my name right, because there's so much in your name. And so I think it's very important that we stop people and that we don't compromise and say, oh no, you can call me D if Dietrich's too difficult. People have learned difficult names throughout the course of history. Dostoevsky, we have no problem saying that name. So why is it difficult for me to have someone say Dethra and pronounce it correctly? So we have to start off by honoring ourselves, by honoring the names that our parents gave us.
That's great. I completely agree with you on that one. And it's almost like when you take on a different name so that it's convenient for others, you put on a mask and you're really concealing a lot about your culture and where your background and where you really came from. So I thoroughly agree with you on that one. And I'm glad you're actually talking about this because not a lot of influencers really speak about this openly. And that's a lovely name, Dethra.
Thank you. And it's so true. I love the way you said that we put on a mask because we do this in an effort to make others comfortable comfortable, especially those of us who may not be in the majority group in our locations. For example, in the US, we're not in the majority group. So we do create names to make others comfortable. Oh, it's just easier. And I'm a professor, and so when I'm looking at my students, I'm saying, no, please allow me the opportunity to struggle and get it right because I want to say your name properly, not the name that you gave just so people can feel better about it. Because it is a mask. It's the mask that we put on when we don't let people get it right.
Right, can't agree more with you. Thank you for that lovely response, Dethra. So going on to the next question, you're also the chief bridge architect at Execute Prep. So can you just tell us a little more about this concept of employeepreneurs?
Absolutely. So, one of the things that has always shocked me is that people often think that entrepreneurship is the ultimate answer. We've told people that, oh my gosh, the ultimate goal is to own your own business. And the reality is, one, that's not the ultimate goal. But two, your very first business is your career. And many people are managing their careers poorly. And when I go into audiences and I speak at conferences like the SHRM conference, which is Society of Human Resources Managers here in the US, or at RecFest over in London, or at Evolve over in Poland, and I ask the question, how many of you own a business? Raise your hand. And very few people raise their hand. And I remind them, no, no, no. You absolutely own a business. Your career is your business. You are a multi-billion-dollar organization and your career is. And if you don't see it that way, then you're managing your product poorly and someone else is taking advantage of your most valuable resource, which is you and your intellectual property. Have to begin to manage our careers like they are a business, like entrepreneur of myself incorporated, which is where the idea of employeepreneur came from.
That's great. That's really wonderful. And I think it's a very unique concept that not a lot of people really talk about. And it's also taking accountability for oneself, even as an employee, right? You needn't always,
Absolutely.
yes, in a leadership position to take accountability and responsibility for a lot of things.
And that's absolutely right. It's about taking accountability for our own advancement. I Before I started my company, I was in the workforce and I was in the human resources. And I would get several employees that would come into the office and say, tell me how you are going to get me promoted. Tell me how you are going to advance my career. Tell me what you are going to do for me. And I would always reflect it back on them. No, tell me what you're going to do for yourself and how I can best help you. I can't tell you where your career is going to go. It's your job to tell me where your career is going to go and how I can best help you do that. And when we begin to take that kind of ownership, that kind of responsibility, that's when we'll see our careers take off.
Absolutely. That was such an enlightening answer. And yes, can't agree more with you on that one. So, going on to the next question, Dethra, you've also mentioned that a lot of people are really stuck in a stage of success and do not know how to navigate their route out of it. So, can you share a little more insight on that aspect?
Yeah, so that happens in two ways. Let's talk about the first way. The first way people get stuck in success is they do certain things to achieve a certain level and they hit, let's say, mid level management. They go from entry level employee to supervisor to manager to director, and they were doing great and they get stuck at director. And they have no clue how to get from director to assistant vice president. They're just stuck and they don't really know what to do. And they don't know that they keep doing what they've always done, not realizing what got you to the level of director is not going to get you to assistant vice president. You have to have a mental shift, a mindset shift, and a talent shift. And many of them don't know how to make those shifts. So they retire after spending 30 years as a director because they got stuck at a certain level of success. The second one is people that have achieved the highest levels of success. They're in the C suite, they're the CEO of the company, they're running the division. They are the ultimate idea of what they thought success would be, but their lives are horrible. They don't like the life they've created. They are working 100 hours a week and not enjoying themselves. Their health is poor. They probably eat too much and might be overweight and unhealthy. They thought success was going to be a position, and what they forgot was success was about a total life. And I don't care if you're running a company, if your family is unhealthy, if you're unhealthy, if you don't have good relationships, if all you do is work, you have not achieved success. And I want people to get out of both of those traps. I want them to be able to get past middle management, and I want them to get out of this idea that success is just money and position. It's about a total life. I tell people every day, I would rather be living under a bridge and happy than to have $50 million in the bank and be miserable.
Absolutely. Wow, that was so well encapsulated by you. And I'm just blown right now the way you just put all that together. And completely agree with you. And I think we also need to constantly upskill and reskill ourselves and constantly be in the process of learning, because there's no start and end
Mhm.
point to learning in general. It's a journey that we're all in, and that's how we're constantly going to go up in the corporate ladder and um, achieve the goal of having success in life rather than a position.
Absolutely. And I love that idea. Just have success in life, because people will often ask me about work life balance. Dietra, how do you achieve work life balance? And I tell them I don't. I believe in work life alignment. My work and my life need to be aligned. They aren't two separate things. There's not a time when I just shut off my life and say, okay, now work begins, and I shut off my work and now life begins. I don't take on things that don't align with my values. I value being a wife and a mother and a daughter. I value time with my friends. I value working out every day. I value going for a nice run. I value being outside. My family and I are beekeepers. I value going outside and keeping the bees. And I'm not going to do any work that takes away from what I value. So I always make sure that my work and my life are aligned.
Wow, that was wonderfully put. And that's such a fresh perspective you're giving to our audience, Deetra. Thank you so, so much for that. Um, Going on to the next question, I'd also like to ask your views on performance optimization, especially now, since we're at a time where performance is highly dependent on the varying state that employees are in, given the pandemic and the work from home situation.
So, one of the things we have to realize, this is our time. I've been talking to so many of my clients, whether they're corporations or individuals, and for so long, people have been asking to be location independent, is what I call it. I don't call it working from home. I call it location independent, because when the world opened, and the reason I do that, because what you call things is very important. And if we call it work from home, when the world opens back up and the vaccine is widely distributed, then everyone's going to go back into the office because you don't have to work from home anymore. I want people to think about location independence, being able to work anywhere in the world. I'm a world traveler. I call myself a world citizen. I have my passport has stamps all over it because I love hopping around the globe. But what I also love is my ability to do my work from anywhere. And if we're going to argue and fight for that when the pandemic resides, then we have to optimize our performance now. We need to be able to say, you know what? When I was home, I got work done, even more work done than when I was in an office. And how do we optimize our performance now? The first step is having a schedule. Everything needs to be on a schedule. People think I'm crazy, but when my kids eat, when they take breaks, when I take a break, when I take a nap, because we all need naps, when I go for my run and exercise, it's on a schedule so I can make sure that during the time I'm working, I am truly optimizing my performance. The other thing, I'll only give two because there's a list of 10 I normally give out, but I'll give out two. The other thing is making sure that you prioritize the things that will have the most impact. What most people do is they create a to do list that's a mile long, and that is a trap for failure. Look at your to do list and narrow it down to two maybe 3 things per day that you're going to accomplish. And those things are so impactful that they take some time to do. I'll give you an example. In my company, we're always bidding for opportunities to do work with companies. And those things are called, in the US, they're called RFPs, or requests for proposals. And those RFPs could take at least an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes to complete properly. Well, if I have my day filled with useless things, I'll miss the RFP, and the RFP is how my company makes money. So the RFP is going to be one of the things that I do today. And I may not get anything else done, but that RFP can generate revenue that pays my salary, pays my employee's salary, keeps the company running. So pick those most impactful things to do and do them well every day. That's how you optimize performance.
Wow, that was great. So it's basically focusing and narrowing your attention on what really matters when you're location independent, as you call it.
Absolutely.
So, and I completely agree with you again. And I also feel just giving people being flexible and letting them, work from home in an independent way speaks volumes even about your organization, that you have employee trust, you don't want to micromanage them. So, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And this is, and I love that you talked about that too, because on the company side of things, many organizations should be assessing about the optimization of their employees' performance. How are our employees actually producing more at home, and does it make sense to bring them back into the office? One of the larger organizations I work with now, which is Cox Communications, they're really assessing that. Hey, these people are performing well at home. We're recognizing the cost savings. How do we make their work at home, or whatever location they choose to work from? How do we optimize that and use our resources for optimizing them where they are, as opposed to thinking about how do we get them back into this office? Because this may be the best financial situation for the company, having our employees be location independent.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really second you on that. Thank you for such an elaborate response, Dethra. Just to kind of wrap this interview up, do you have any final passing remarks you'd like to leave our audience with?
Absolutely. Here's the thing I really want to leave you with more than anything. And I started off by saying this, and I want to end by saying this. I need for you to recognize that you are a multi-billion-dollar organization, and your career is your product. You have a responsibility to yourself, to your heritage, to those who came before you, to properly manage that resource. And if you are not managing it, or you need help, reach out to someone who can help you. I am happy to, but there are so many people that can help you be the CEO of your career, the president of your career, the leader of the incorporation that is you. Get the help you need to properly manage your career, because it's your best product and your most valuable resource.
That was such a great tip and a really inspiring one as well. Thank you so much, Deetra, for your time and sharing out your wonderful views with us. I thoroughly, as personally, I learned a lot from this 20-minute interview, and I'm sure our audience are going to benefit from it as well. So, thank you, and really hoping to do a second lap of this sometime in the near future.
Absolutely. I would love that.